Very good evening, everyone. How are you all? Now, last class we were doing Ind AS 116. We have done till modification in the books of Lacy. I hope you have understood. Let me take one more question based on that. Come to question number 37. There is a modification that both increases and decreases the scope of the lessee. Correct now. Now, lessee enter into a 10-year lease for 2000 square meter of office space. The annual lease payment are rupees 1 lakh payable at the end of each year. The interest rate implicit in lease cannot be readily determined. Therefore, lessee incremental borrowing rate at the commencement date is 6%. At the beginning of year 6, lessee and lessor agree to amend the original lease to include an additional 1500 square meter of space in the same building starting from the beginning of year 6. So this is increase in the scope and reduce the lease term from 10 year to 8 years. So initially it was 10 year, but now it will be 8 years. So out of 10 year, 5 year is already expired. So can I say out of remaining 5, can I say 2 year is reduced, so the remaining lease term will be 3 years? Yes, sir. The annual payment for the 3500 square meter will be 1,50,000 payable at the end of each year, that is year 6 to year 8. Lessee incremental borrowing rate at the beginning of year 6 is 7%. Correct now. So you can see there is an increase in lease payment by rupees 50,000. Yes, sir. The consideration for the increase in the scope 1500 square meter office space is not commensurate with the standalone price for the increase adjusted to reflect the circumstances of the contract. Means can I say it will not be considered as a separate lease, therefore modification will not be accounted as separate lease. Consequently, the lease does not account for increase in the scope that adds the right to the use an additional 1500 square meter of space as a separate lease. That is given in the question also. How should the said modification will be accounted for? Good. So can I say first we'll calculate the opening ROU asset and lease liability? Yes, sir. So working note will do. What working note? So we'll find out the initial value of ROU asset and lease liability. So that is 1 lakh payable at the end of each year for 10 years. You can see lease payment discounted at 6%. So this is the lease liability and ROU asset at the beginning. This you understood? Yes, sir. Now we'll find out carrying amount of lease liability and ROU asset as on the date of modification. That we need to find out. So we'll find out the carrying amount of lease liability and ROU asset as on the date of modification, means at the end of 5th year, that we can do key it is 7,35,900. This is also 7,35,900. You can make 2 working note or you can do in one working note only. Correct. Now lease payment is made at the end of the year. So you can see first we'll calculate interest, then lease payment. You can easily calculate this amount. Understood? Have you understood? Yes, sir. Now, can I say there are two things? One is decrease in lease term and one is increase in ROU asset, increase in additional space. So when I say decrease in lease term, so can I say the remaining lease term is 5 year, and out of this 2 year will be reduced, so remaining will be 3 year. So can I say this ROU asset should be remeasured based on what? Based on uh, 3 lease term left. So can I say if you want to make a adjustment for the termination of 2 year lease term, so it will be 3,67,950 into 3,67,950 into, correct, into, can I say we'll do 3 by 5. It will be 3 by 5 into 3 by 5. So it will be 2,20,770. So it will be remeasured at what? 2,20,770. It means we need to reduce ROU asset by how much? by how much? That is 1,47,180. 1,47,180. I hope you have understood this point. Bolo. Have you understood this point? Yes, sir. And now can I say this is the lease liability for this is the remaining present value. This is the remaining means I will say the present value of remaining this lease payment for the 5 year. But can I say now it need to be paid only for how many year? 3 year. So we need to find out modified lease liability when there is a decrease in lease term. So can we calculate what is the present value or remaining lease liability, uh, limiting lease liability for how many year? For the balance 3 year based on the original lease payment. So if I calculate means if I calculate, just try to understand, we'll calculate what? Calculate the remaining this calculation of remaining this liability for the original contract of 2000 square meters at original discount rate. So can you see it will be 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh for the next 3 year. Discounted as 6%, so this will come 2,67,300. It will come 2,67,300. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Have you understood what I'm saying? Yes, sir. So can you say now our lease liability will be 2,67,300. The modified lease liability will be what? 2,67,300. It means how much decrease? It is 4,21,090 minus 2,67,000. 2,67,300 is equal to what? 1,53,790. 1,53,790. So can you see difference between these two will be what? Gain on loss. On what? On the partial termination of the lease contract. This will be gain or loss on the partial termination of the lease contract. Means you will pass one journal entry, lease liability account debit to ROU asset, and the difference will be what? Gain or loss, which will be transferred to PL. Or what we can do, just try to understand why. Just try to understand key we can because now what I was saying ki this become what? 2,67,300 become is the modified lease liability. Yes, sir. But can I say now we need to pay not 1 lakh, we'll pay 1,50,000. Because of changes in the scope. Correct now. It means we need to modify our lease liability. Because of increase in the scope. So when there is an increase in the scope, so we are paying 1,50,000, 1,50,000, 1,50,000. Correct. So this is the modified lease liability based on revised discount rate. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. This is based on revised discount rate. So 3,93,600. If I compared with this modified liability, so this is coming what? 3,93,600 minus 2,67,300. So how much adjustment is required to ROU asset? So can I say adjustment required to ROU asset due to increase in the scope is 1,26,300. So for this we'll pass one journal entry, ROU asset account debit to lease liability. Means you are supposed to pass two journal entry. First journal entry is what? Lease liability account debit. How much reduce? 1,53,790 to ROU asset. How much decrease? 1,47,180, and this gain will be transferred to PL. The gain will be 6610. And second journal entry will be ROU asset account debit to lease liability. That will be equal to how much? 1,26,300. 1,26,300. I hope you have understood these 2 points. Correct? Yes, sir. So this become the answer of this question. Yes, sir. Correct? Yes, sir. Now let us come to the lesser accounting. Let us come to the books of lesser now. We have done whatever is required for the books of lessee. Now we are coming to the accounting treatment in the books of lesser. Correct? Yes, sir. Now, lesser accounting. So, for the accounting in the books of lesser, lease need to be classified as operating lease or finance lease. Operating lease or finance lease. So, now we need to understand when a lease will be classified as operating, when a lease will be classified as finance. It is same to same what you have done under AS 19. Means no changes for the classification of lease as operating and finance lease. But let us do it. Classification of lease. At inception, lessor classify all lease as finance lease or operating lease. Correct? A finance lease is defined as the lease that transfers substantially all the risk and reward incidental to ownership of an underlying asset. Means an operating lease is defined as the lease that does not transfer the substantial risk and reward incidental to the ownership of underlying asset. Yes, sir. I hope you have understood. Now, example that would normally lead to a lease being classified as finance lease. So they have given 5 examples. These 5 examples will be normally considered as finance lease. First example, the lease transfer ownership of the asset at the end of lease term. So whenever ownership is transferred at the end of lease term, this is normally classified as finance lease. Second, lessee has an option to purchase the leased asset. The lessee has an option to purchase the leased asset at a price that is expected to be sufficiently lower than the fair value at the date of option become exercisable for it to be reasonably certain that at inception means it would be reasonably certain at inception date that the option will be exercised. Means in simple word I will say, if the lessee has an option to purchase the leased asset at the end of lease term at a price which is less than the fair value of such asset at the end of lease term. Correct? Now at the end of lease term or the when the option will become exercisable. Means suppose the fair value of leased asset 1 lakh and the lessee can purchase the asset at rupees 10,000. So of course they will exercise the option. Why they will not exercise the option? So can I say it is reasonably certain in this case that ownership will be transferred, therefore it will be a finance lease. Correct? The lease term is for the major part of the economic life of the asset even if title is not transferred. So lease term cover major part of the economic life of the asset. So if it covers major part of the economic life of the asset, then it will be a finance lease. Correct? Then at inception date, present value of lease payment. On inception, present value of lease payment substantially cover the fair value of leased asset at the time of inception. Means present value of lease payment, if it substantially cover the initial fair value of leased asset, then also it will be a finance lease. Correct? Yes, sir. Then last point, the asset is of such a specialized nature that only lessee can use it without major modification being made. Means until major modification be done, the asset can be used only by lessee. It cannot be used by any other person. Then it will be also considered as finance lease. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, Ind AS 116 has also given some indicator that could also lead a lease being classified as finance lease. Means apart from the example, they have given some indicator also. This indicator if exists, then lease will be classified as finance lease. First, if the lessee can cancel the lease, and the lessor's loss associated with the cancellation are borne by the lessee. Means all the loss of lessor is need to be borne by the lessee on cancellation of lease. So it is a finance lease. Correct? Gain or loss from the fluctuation in the fair value of the residual accrued to the lessee. Means any gain or loss on the due to fluctuation in the fair value of leased asset will belong to lessee, then it will be a finance lease. Correct? Yes, sir. Now lessee has the ability to continue the lease for a secondary period at a rent that is substantially lower than the market rent. So if the lessee can continue the lease for the secondary period at a rent which is lower than the market rate of rent, then it will be also considered as finance lease. Yes, sir. Understood. Now coming to the accounting for finance lease in the books of lessor. In the books of lessor, for this purpose we need to first find out whether the lessor is a manufacturer or dealer, or if they are non-manufacturer or dealer. So if they are manufacturer or dealer, so can you say the asset will be inventory? The asset will be inventory. If they are non-manufacturer dealer, so can I say asset will be either property, plant and equipment, or intangible asset, or investment property. Are you able to understand what I am saying? Correct. So you need to first find out whether lessor is acting like a manufacturer or dealer, or lessor is treated as non-manufacturer or dealer. If they are non-manufacturer dealer, then what need to be done? If they are manufacturer or dealer, then what need to be done? So what India's 116 case, 116 says, in case of non-manufacturer dealer lessor, initial recognition of lease. Correct. Initial recognition of lease at a commencement date, lessor shall recognize asset held under a finance lease in the balance sheet and present them as receivable at an amount equal to net investment in the lease. Means what journal entry they will pass? Lease receivable to asset. Lease receivable to asset, and this journal entry, this lease receivable will come at net investment and asset will come at carrying amount. Any difference in this journal entry will be transferred to gain or loss. Gain or loss on sale of asset. Gain or loss on sale of asset. To de-recognize the carrying amount of the underlying asset, recognize net investment in the lease as receivable, recognize any difference in the profit or loss as selling profit and sale or selling loss. Correct? Yes, sir. Now this net investment is equal to what? This net investment is equal to present value of lease payment, plus present value of unguaranteed residual value. Unguaranteed residual value. The present value of lease payment, now you know what is lease payment, what is unguaranteed residual value. Unguaranteed residual value means expected residual value of lessor less guaranteed residual value. Correct. Less guaranteed residual value. So what is the meaning of guaranteed residual value? So any residual value guaranteed by lessee or on behalf of lessee or any third party, whichever is higher. Means suppose the expected residual value is 10,000 and guarantee is what? To guarantee given is 8,000. So unguaranteed residual value will be how much? 2,000. Yes, sir. I hope you have understood. Now the present value of lease payment, the present value of lease payment should be calculated by using interest rate implicit in the lease. Interest rate implicit in the lease. Understood? Now what is the meaning of interest rate implicit in lease? Means here we will not use incremental borrowing rate. Only we need to find out interest rate implicit in the lease. So how to determine interest rate implicit in lease? What Ind AS 116 says, it is defined as the rate of interest that causes the following. Means this will be the discount rate at which present value of lease payment made by the lessee for the right to use the underlying asset plus present value of unguaranteed residual value will be equal to fair value of leased asset, fair value of underlying asset plus any initial direct cost of the lessor. Understood what I am saying? Correct. Means in simple word, the discount rate at which present value of lease payment plus unguaranteed residual value is equal to fair value of leased asset plus initial direct cost. Correct? Means can I say, when we are using interest rate implicit in the lease, so automatically we have done the accounting treatment of initial direct cost, and this lease receivable will be inclusive of initial direct cost. Are you getting what I am saying? Means what will be what journal entry we are doing? If there is a initial direct cost, then journal entry will be what? Lease receivable, account debit to asset, and can I say the initial direct cost has been paid? So we'll say to bank, and this will be the net investment. Net investment means present value of lease payment plus present value of unguaranteed residual value, which is nothing but it is equal to what? Fair value of a leased asset. It is nothing but equal to fair value of leased asset plus initial direct cost Are you getting what I am saying? So suppose the fair value, it will be equal to fair value plus initial direct cost paid. Understood? So this journal entry will pass. Any difference will be transferred to gain or loss on sale. Gain or loss on sale. I hope you have understood. Correct? Yes, sir. This point. Now, if the lessor is a manufacturer or dealer, if the lessor is a manufacturer or dealer, then what journal entry? What Ind AS 116 says, at the commencement date, the manufacturer dealer recognize selling profit or loss in accordance with Ind AS 115. In accordance with Ind AS 115 means will pass one journal entry lease receivable to revenue. Lease receivable to revenue, and this will be equal to present value of lease payment discounted at market rate of interest, discounted at market rate of interest, or fair value, whichever is lower, means this journal entry will be done at what? Lower of fair value of leased asset, of present value of lease payment, discounted by using market rate of interest, market rate of interest will be given in the question, nothing to worry. Correct? And can I say, when there is a sale, we need to also recognize cost of sales. So we'll pass one more journal entry: cost of sales account debit to inventory. Cost of sales account debit to inventory, but cost of sales will be reduced by present value of unguaranteed residual value. Present value of unguaranteed residual value means this cost of sales will be reduced by any present value of unguaranteed residual value. So our journal entry will be cost of sales account debit, lease receivable account debit to what? Purchase. Understood? To purchase the inventory means recognize receivable at a lower of fair value of underlying asset or the present value of lease payment discounted by using market rate of interest. What is the meaning of cost of sales? Recognize cost of sales as the cost of the asset, cost or carrying amount of the asset, carrying amount means if it is inventory, it may be carried at cost price or NRV, which is lower. Correct? Less the present value of unguaranteed residual value. The present value of unguaranteed residual value discounted at what? Discounted at market rate of interest. Understood? Have you understood? Yes, sir. Then can I say, for initial direct cost, in case of non-manufactured dealer, no separate journal entry is required because it is already accounted. Inclusive in lease receivable, is already included in lease receivable. Why it is included? Because interest rate implicit on lease has already considered initial direct cost. But can I say, in case of manufacturer dealer, initial direct cost is not included in lease receivable, means this lease receivable is excluding what? Excluding initial direct cost, and this is inclusive initial direct cost. Yes, sir. I hope you have understood. So what Ind AS 116 says, initial direct costs related to finance lease incurred by manufacturer dealer are expense at lease commencement. It will be charged to PL on commencement date only. Yes, sir. We have understood. Then subsequent recognition, can I say we need to recognize finance income. Here also we need to recognize finance income at a given rate of interest, means here we'll use interest rate implicit on lease, and here we'll use market rate of interest. Just change it. We'll use market rate of interest. Yes, sir. Then for recognition of other payment, any other payment which do not vary with index or rate will be considered as income in the period in which it is earned. For lease payment received, will pass the journal entry, no difficulty in this. Then impairment of net investment. So impairment of lease receivable is covered under Ind AS 109. So impairment need to be done, but it will be done as per Ind AS 109. This is what accounting treatment in the books of what? Lessor. Correct? Yes, sir. Now what will be the accounting for operating lease? Very simple. Accounting for operating lease, a lessor shall recognize lease payment from operating lease as income either on a straight line basis or in any other systematic basis if it is more appropriate. Correct now. So if that basis better represent a pattern in which benefit is expected to be derived from the use of underlying asset. Can I say lessor will recognize valuable lease payment that do not depend upon index or rate, correct, as income in the year in which they are earned, as income in the year in which they are earned, correct, understood. Initial direct cost, initial direct costs in case of operating lease are deferred on lease commencement date, are deferred on lease commencement date and recognize them over the lease term on the same basis as lease income. Means I will say in the ratio of lease income recognized, in the ratio of lease income recognized over the lease term, over the lease term. So initial direct costs are deferred over the lease term and it will be recognized as an expense in the ratio of lease income recognized over the lease term. Understood? This is what simple accounting treatment for operating lease. I hope you have understood. Not, no issue. Now finance lease modification, the accounting whatever we have done, it is same to same. Correct. Now this you can read by your own. However, no question has been given for finance lease modification in the institute book from lesser point of view. From lesser point of view. So this you can read by your own. Yes, sir. Now coming to one question based on what lesser accounting. Come to question number 38. Question number 38. Unless I enter into a 10-year lease of equipment with the lessee, the equipment is not specialized in the nature. So it is not specialized in the nature and is expected to have alternative use to the lessor at the end of 10-year lease term. Under the lease, lessor receive annual lease payment, annual lease payment of rupees 15,000 payable at the end of the year. Lessor expect the residual value of the equipment is 50,000 at the end of 10-year lease term. Lessee provide a residual value guarantee that protect lessor from the first rupees 30,000 of the loss for a sale at a price below the estimated residual value and the end of lease term. So what was the expected residual value? 50,000. So what is the residual value guarantee? It is 30,000. So what is unguaranteed residual value? Unguaranteed residual value is how much? 20,000. Understood? Yes, sir. Correct? Correct. The equipment has an estimated remaining economic life of 15 years and carrying amount of 1 lakh and fair value of 1,11,000. So carrying value is also given, fair value is also given. Lease does not transfer ownership of underlying asset to the lessee at the end of lease term or contain an option to purchase the underlying asset. The interest rate implicit in the lease is 10.078%. How should lessor account for the same in the books of account? Correct now. Now first we need to find out whether it is an operating lease or finance lease. Correct now. So can I say we need to identify the 5 example. So first, can I say ownership is not transferred at the end. Second, there is no purchase option given. So that point is also not applicable. Can I say the lease term does not cover the major part of the economic life of the asset? This point is also not applicable. It is given that it is not an specialized nature asset. So this 4 point is not applicable. It means only we need to now cross check the fourth point. Fourth point means we need to find out present value of lease payment and we should compare this with what? Initial fair value. So initial fair value is how much? Check करेंगे. Initial fair value is what? 1,11,000. 1,11,000. I need to find out present value of lease payment. So present value of lease payment. When I say present value of lease payment, so this will include what? It will include lease payment plus guaranteed residual value. So what is the lease receivable? Annual lease payment 15,000 payable at the end of the year. Payable at the end of the year. Correct now. Understood? So what is the present value of lease payment plus guaranteed residual value this is equal to you can calculate by your own, but I am just writing this is equal to 1,03,340, 1,03,340, and if you compare these two, 1,11,000, so this is coming how much percentage? This is coming how much percentage? 1,03,340 divided by 1,11,000 is equal to what? This is 93%. So can you say the present value of lease payments substantially cover the fair value, initial fair value of leased asset. Therefore, it will be classified as finance lease. Correct? Understood? So it means we need to do accounting treatment based on finance lease, not based on operating lease. However, whenever guaranteed residual value, unguaranteed residual value, interest rate implicit on the lease, it is given, means the question is of finance lease. But can I say you need to start by proving this? So you need to first write down based on this example, based on this indicator, this lease will be classified as finance lease. Now you need to find out whether the lessor is a manufacturer or dealer or non-manufacturer dealer. So in the question nowhere it is given whether it is a manufacturer or non-manufacturer, but if you read the heading of this question, lessor accounting for a finance lease, it is a dealer lessor, means they have assumed the lessor to be dealer. But I will inform you in both ways what will be the journal entries in the books of non-manufacturer or dealer. What will journal entry in the books of manufacturer or dealer? Correct. Now, so on inception means first year, what will be journal entry? Year 1. Can I say here the journal entry will be lease receivable? Lease receivable, correct, to asset, and this will be equal to present value of lease payment plus present value of unguaranteed residual value. Present value of lease payment already we calculated, that is 1,03,340 plus present value of unguaranteed residual value will be equal to 7,660. This I am taking from the solution. You can easily calculate 1,03,340 plus 7,660, which is equal to 1,11,000. 1,11,000 means it is equal to fair value only. Check karo. And the asset carrying amount it is given 1 lakh. Asset carrying amount is equal to 1 lakh. Therefore, gain will be what? 11,000, and this will be transferred to PL. So this will be journal entry in case of non-manufacturer dealer. What will be journal entry in case of manufacturer dealer? So can I say first journal entry, lease receivable, account debit to revenue, means sale. This journal entry will be done at lower of point number A, fair value. Fair value is 1,11,000, and point number B, present value of what? Present value of lease payment. Present value of only lease payment, discounted by using what? Discounted by using market rate of interest. If nothing is given, we'll take 10.078 as market rate of interest. Means interest rate implicit on lease will be taken as what? Market rate of interest. Are you able to understand what I am saying? So this will be equal to 1,03,340. Correct? 1,03,340. So this journal entry will be done with 1,03,340. Correct. Then we'll pass one more journal entry. Cost of sales account debit. Cost of sales account debit. Lease receivable account debit to purchase. So what is the carrying amount of inventory? That is 1 lakh. Yes sir. Cost of sales will be equal to what? Cost of sales will be equal to 1 lakh minus what? Present value of unguaranteed residual value. So 1 lakh minus 7,660. that is equal to 92,340, and this will be 7660. Understood? Are you able to understand? So of course this minus this will be what? Profit and loss, which will be automatically calculated from SOPL, which will be automatically calculated from SOPL. Now we can proceed. Can I say, and at year end one we recognize finance income. Finance income in this case will be calculated on 1,11,000. In this also it is calculated 1,11,000, because this plus this will be 1,11,000 only by taking the interest rate, that is 10.078. Understood? I hope you have understood what I want to say. Correct now. Then the further journal entry you can easily do. I hope in that no doubt. Have you understood this? Have you understood this entire point? Yes, sir, we have understood. Correct? Yes, sir. So this was journal entry in the books of lesser in case of finance lease, whether he is a manufacturer dealer or non-manufacturer dealer. If question is silent, assume manufacturer dealer by giving an alternative answer also. I will say give an alternative answer if question is silent. So from examination point of view, if question is silent, give alternative answer also. If you have time, if you do not have time, assume and then do. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this also we have completed. Now we'll come to the next point. Next point is of sublease. Sublease. Now sublease is very easy. Nothing complicated in this. Sublease means what? Ki suppose lessor transfer asset to lessee. So this is known as head lease. And then this is lease. Then they will sublease to another person. So this will become lessee in case of sublease, and this will be what? Known as intermediate lessor. This will be known as intermediate lessor, and this is known as head lessor. Are you getting what I am saying? Yes, sir. So can I say we are not here to understand the accounting treatment in this book. This you know. We are not here to understand the accounting treatment in this. Can I say here also the lessee's accounting will be considered. We are here to understand accounting treatment in the books of intermediate lessor. Ki what will happen if the lessee in case of head lease, lessee in case of head lease has subleased the asset, then what need to be done? Correct? Yes, sir. So what they say? A sublease is defined as a transaction. A sublease is defined as a transaction for which an underlying asset is released by lessee, also known as intermediate lessor, to a third party, and the lease head lease, and the lease means head lease between the head lessor and the lessee remain in effect, means this does not cancel due to this reason, it remain in effect. So there is no change in the terms and condition of this lease, correct? Understood? So in case of intermediate lessor, can I say, because now that party become lesser, so now we need to understand whether that lease will be an operating lease or finance lease in case of intermediate lessor. So what Ind AS 116 says, is the head lease a short term lease? So if the head lease was a short term lease in the books of lessee, then that lease will be always classified, the sublease will be always classified as what? Operating lease. If the head lease is not a short term lease, then classified using the classification criteria by reference to ROU asset in the head lease. ROU asset in the head lease. Means now we need to classify as per the classification criteria given under Ind AS 116 in relation to, yeah, by reference to ROU asset, by reference to ROU asset, not underlying asset, by reference to ROU asset, because can you see here ROU asset has been leased, ROU asset has been leased. Understood? Yes sir. Then one note has been given कि an intermediate lessor who sublease or expect to sublease an asset, who sublease or expect to sublease an asset cannot account for the head lease, cannot account for the head lease as a lease of low value asset even when the required criteria with respect to lease of low value asset are satisfied. Means if the lessee is expecting to sublease any asset, then head lease, for the head lease they cannot classify head lease as the lease of low value asset. Means if there is a lease of low value asset, then that exemption is not available. They need to account that lease of low value asset as what? ROU asset, as ROU asset. Understood? I hope you have understood this point. Yes sir. Then accounting for sublease. In case sublease is classified as finance lease, so can you see in case sublease is classified as finance lease, so it means we need to de-recognize ROU asset and recognize a lease receivable. Means we'll pass one journal entry, lease receivable account debit to ROU asset, this journal entry, correct? So what they said, de-recognize ROU asset on the head lease at the sublease commencement date, and this ROU asset will be de-recognized at carrying amount. Recognize lease receivable at net investment in the sublease, and this will be at net investment. Difference will be gain or loss. So any difference will be recognized as gain or loss in PL. Correct? And can I say the intermediate lessor will have also one lease liability for the head lease. There will be lease liability. Correct now? Understood? So what they say, subsequently recognize. Can I say subsequently intermediate lessor we recognize, can I say interest income in this and interest expense on lease liability, interest expense on lease liability. I hope you have understood. Correct? Yes sir. Then if the sublease is classified as an operating lease, if the sublease is classified as an operating lease, then there is no need to de-recognize ROU asset. Continue to account for the lease liability and ROU asset on the head lease like any other lease. Means there is no need to de-recognize ROU asset. They will continue to recognize lease liability and ROU asset in case of head lease. During the sublease term, intermediate lessor, can I say they will recognize depreciation and finance expense on head lease, and recognize lease income on sublease on the basis of a straight line method, to recognize lease income on sublease. I hope you have understood. Correct? Yes sir. For this, I think no question required. You can take the question from the question bank. Then you can do it by your own. I hope you have understood what sublease. Now we'll come to sale and leaseback transaction. Already in the last attempt, a question have been asked from sale and leaseback transaction. Already a question have been asked. So this is an important topic. One thing is clear, that this is an important topic. What Ind AS 116 says. A sale and leaseback transaction involves the transfer of an asset by an entity who is a seller and lessee to another entity who is a buyer and lessor, and lease back the same asset by the seller or lessee. Means a seller has sold the asset to a buyer, and this buyer has leased back the same asset to the seller. So this person is a seller and lessee, and this person is a buyer and lessor. Correct? Means in this case we are not discussing anything about the lease transaction. Can I say what will be the accounting treatment of lease? That we know. Only we need to understand for this sale what accounting treatment is required. So this is known as sale and leaseback transaction. Sale and leaseback transaction. So what Ind AS 116 says, first identify whether transfer of an asset is a sale as per Ind AS 115. Whether transfer of an asset is considered a sale as per Ind AS 115. So we need to first do some assessment whether the control of an underlying asset is transferred to buyer or lessor. If the control has been transferred, so can I say yes, it is a sale and transaction is accounted. Means if the control is transferred, yes, so the transaction is regarded as a sale or purchase of the asset and lease. So sale and purchase of the asset and lease. Sale and purchase of the asset and lease. Correct now? Yes, sir. And if no, then the transaction is not regarded as sale and purchase. It will be only considered as financing transaction. Understood? So if the transaction in which transfer of an asset is a sale, means if the control has been transferred, then what need to be done? In the books of lessor, in the books of lessee, in the books of lessor, in the books of lessee. So first in the books of seller and lessee, then in the books of buyer and lessor. Correct? Understood? So what Ind AS 116 says? What Ind AS 116 says? Correct? Key in the books of seller, can I say first journal entry will be bank account debit to underlying asset. Bank account debit to underlying asset. Correct? And can I say one ROU asset will be also recognized? ROU asset will be recognized. Only we need to understand at what amount ROU asset will be recognized. If you can understand this, then this topic is very easy. What they said, measure the ROU asset arising from leaseback at a proportion of previous carrying amount of the asset that relates to ROU retained by the seller or lessee. Means measure ROU asset arising from leaseback at a proportion of previous carrying amount of the asset that relate to retained by the seller or lessee. Means can I say out of this underlying asset, suppose the economic life of the asset is 20 years and this asset has been taken back for 10 years. So can I say whatever asset has been transferred, a portion of right of use of that asset has been retained. A portion of ROU, a right of use asset of underlying asset has been retained. So that much portion should be recognized. So we need to understand what they want to say about this. I will explain with the question. Accordingly, seller or lessee shall recognize only the amount of any gain or loss that relate to the right transferred to the buyer or lessor. So they should recognize only gain for the portion which has been transferred to buyer and lessor. So entire gain will not be recognized. So how much gain should be recognized, that we need to understand. These two important points. Thus the seller or lessee will de-recognize underlying asset, recognize the gain or loss, if any, that relate to the right transferred to the buyer and lessor, adjusted with the off-market terms. What is this? This we need to understand. Yes, sir. Correct. Understood. Now what they say, adjustment of off-market terms. What they want to say, if the sale price is more than the fair value of the asset, means if the fair value is 10 lakh and the sale price is 13 lakh, so whatever 3 lakh we have received extra, so this 3 lakh will be deducted from the sale price and this 3 lakh will be considered as financing arrangement, means it will be considered as loan from buyer or lessor. Correct now? Are you getting? Means for this our journal entry will be bank account debit 13 lakh to what? How much received from for asset, that is 10 lakh, and to financial liability will be 3 lakh. So this will be the sale price for the underlying asset which has been transferred. Correct now? What they want to say? When sale price is greater than the fair value of underlying asset, or the present value of lease payment is greater than present value of market lease payment at market terms. Present value of lease payment at market terms. Either of these which can be determined easily, determined reliably. So either you can calculate off market terms on the basis of fair value of the asset, on the basis of lease payment at market terms. Are you getting? So what they say? Seller lessee recognize the difference as a reduction in sale price and an additional financing received from the buyer lessor. Correct? If it is reverse, means if sale price is less than the fair value of underlying asset, then the seller lessee recognize the difference as an increase in the sale price, means will increase the sale price, and initial measurement of ROU asset as a lease prepayment. So this will be considered as prepayment for the lease. Prepayment. So this will be added to the cost price of ROU asset, and the initial measurement of ROU asset as a lease prepayment. As a lease prepayment. So what journal entry will do? Suppose bank account we have received, means the sale price is suppose 10 lakh. Correct now? Understood? Correct. And the fair value is 15 lakh. Fair value is 15 lakh. So to asset, can I say 15 lakh will come, means the sale price will be 15 lakh, and the difference will be considered as prepayment. Prepayment, that is what? 5 lakh. And this prepayment will be added to the ROU asset. This will be ROU asset. Are you getting? So this will be this will be considered as the initial measurement of ROU asset as a lease prepayment. Understood this point? Correct. Let us take a question based on this. Then only you can understand what need to be done. Correct. Let us take a question based on this. This was the same question which was asked in exam. An entity sells a building to another entity for a cash of 30 lakh. Immediately before the transaction, the building is carried at a cost of 15 lakh. This is the carrying amount of the building. At the same time, seller lessee intend to contract with the buyer lessor for a right to use of the building for 20 years with an annual payment of 2 lakh payable at the end of each year. The terms and conditions of transaction are such that transfer building by seller lessee satisfy the requirement for determining when the performance obligation satisfied in Ind AS 115 revenue from contract with customer. So this will be considered as sale. The fair value of building is 27 lakh. Initial direct costs are ignored. The interest rate implicit in the transaction is 12%. Buyer or lessor classify the lease as an operating lease. So buyer has classified as the lease as operating lease. How should a said transaction be accounted in the books of seller and in the books of buyer? Correct. So let us first take the what? Seller. Correct. So we are here to first understand what we'll do in the books of seller. Now, what is the sale price? 30 lakh. And what is the fair value of the asset? That is 27 lakh. So can I say the transaction is at off market terms? It is not at market terms, off market terms. Therefore, this difference will be considered as additional finance received from buyer. Understood? 3 lakh. Yes, sir. Correct. Now we'll find out the present value of lease payment. Present value of lease payment, it means there is nothing but 2 lakh which is payable at the end of each year, discounted for 20 year at rate of interest is given. So that will come around 14 lakh 94,000. 94,000. But out of these, can I say 3 lakh, whatever we have received, that is what? For loan amount received. So 11 lakh 94,000. Can I say this is what? The lease payment received for what? ROU asset. So this is a lease payment received for ROU asset. Understood? Now, just try to understand what I am saying. मेरी बात को समझना. Correct? कि if the fair value of underlying asset is 27 lakh, तो fair value of underlying asset is 27 lakh. So what is the carrying amount of underlying asset? Carrying amount of underlying asset is given how much? Carrying amount कितना है? That is 15 lakh. Correct. So can I say this is nothing but fair value of ROU asset? Can I say this is nothing but equal to fair value of ROU asset? Means whatever we are receiving at current rate of interest, that is the fair value of ROU asset. Can I say what is the lease liability? That is 11 lakh 94,000. This I can say fair value of ROU asset. So can we find out ki what is the carrying amount of ROU asset which is retained? So carrying amount of ROU asset which is retained will be equal to what? That will be equal to what? Can I say that is nothing but 15 lakh into what? Yeah, divide by what? 27 lakh multiplied by what? 11 lakh 94,000. Only this you need to understand. 15 lakh divided by 27 lakh into 11 lakh 94,000. This will come 6 lakh 63,333. Means this is the carrying. This is nothing but carrying amount of ROU asset retained. So this will be recognized as ROU asset. This will be recognized as ROU asset. Means what is the carrying amount of ROU asset transferred? That is nothing but 15 lakh minus 6 lakh 63,333. It is nothing but, so how much transferred? Transferred is 8 lakh 36,667. Means we need to find out gain or loss based on this. We need to find out gain or loss based on this. Are you getting what I am saying? Means now what will be journal entry? Can I say bank account? Bank account is how much? We have received 30 lakh. 30 lakh. Out of which can I say 3 lakh is financial liability? Financial liability is 3 lakh. Yes, sir. How much lease liability? That is 11 lakh. That is 11 lakh 94,000. Bolo. Correct? Are you getting what I'm saying? 11 lakh 94,000. Yes, sir. So you can see the total become 14 lakh 94,000. Total liability become 14 lakh 94,000. You can also write down it as what? Total lease liability. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Then how much ROU asset you recognize? ROU asset will be how much? 6,63,333. And what is the carrying amount of underlying asset? The carrying amount of underlying asset is 15 lakh. So what is the difference? Difference kitna? That is gain or loss. So that will come around. What is the gain? Gain is coming 6 lakh 69,000. Correct? 669,333. 6,69,333. Have you understood this point? This is the gain. So this much gain will be recognized. This much gain will be recognized. I hope you have understood what I am saying. Bolo. Any doubt? Have you understood this point? Correct. Now, in the books of buyer or lesser, what journal entry will do? First, they will pass journal entry. Building they have acquired. Building. Building account debit. So building account debit will be the purchase price, that is equal to 27 lakh. Correct. One financial asset will come, that is 3 lakh. And how much payment to bank? That is 30 lakh. And because this is an operating lease, token is the total lease payment will be recognized as an income on SLM basis unless there is some systematic method is some other appropriate method is available. I hope you have understood this point. Any doubt? Simple? Correct. I hope you have understood this point. Yes, sir. This point also you have understood. Correct. Now, what they have written? For buyer or lessor, account for purchase of the asset, applying applicable Ind AS for the lease and applying lesser accounting requirement under Ind AS 116. So for the lease receivable, thing will be applicable as per Ind AS 116. Buyer or lessor also required to adjust the purchase price of underlying asset for any off-market term. Such adjustment are recognized either as additional financing provided to the seller lessee or lease prepayment made by the seller or lessee. Understood? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have understood. Now, if the transaction in which the transfer is not a sale, then we'll continue to recognize the transfer asset, means will not pass any journal entry of sale, and whatever amount received recognize a financial liability equal to the transfer proceed, means whatever amount we have received, that will be a financial liability. It shall account the financial liability by applying Ind AS 109. Same thing here, do not recognize the transfer asset, recognize the financial asset with an amount equal to transfer proceed. It shall account the financial asset as per Ind AS 109. Simple. Simple. Yes, sir. Then one special point about lease classification test for land and building. If suppose the land and building together has been given lease, so what will be the lease classification test? Means this is only applicable for lessor, this is not applicable for lessee. So what Ind AS 116 says, for a lease that includes both land and building element, the lessor separately assess the classification of each element as a finance or operating lease. Land normally has an indefinite economic life. Therefore, normally the lease of land will be classified as normally I am saying. Yes, sir. So what they are saying, lease of land and building, whether the lease payment can be allocated, between land and building element in the proportion of their relative fair value. Yes. If yes, classify each element as finance lease or an operating lease based on the criteria given under Ind AS 116. No, no. If both elements are operating lease, then classify entire lease as operating lease. But both elements are not operating lease, means either one of them is what finance lease, then classify the entire lease as finance lease. Either of them is a finance lease, then classify the entire lease as finance lease. If you cannot separate, I hope this also you have understood. Correct? Yes, sir. Now, there is one amendment under Ind AS 116 due to COVID-19 pandemic. There is one amendment for May 21 attempt and onward. Correct now. For May 21 attempt and onward. So let us do that amendment also. What is the amendment? Amendment is for the modification in the books of lessee. Modification in the books of lessee. This amendment is not applicable for the books of lessor. Correct. What Ind AS 116 says. Following amendment have been made with respect to accounting of COVID-19 related rent concession such as rent holiday, temporary rent reduction. Means due to COVID-19, it was found that many of the lessor has given rent concession or rent holiday for the time period. Are you getting what I am saying? For the time period due to COVID-19 pandemic, the question is that whether it will be considered as a modification, whether we need to follow modification accounting. Are you getting what I am saying? So what Ind AS 116 says through this amendment, there is a practical expedient for this. The amendment permit lessee, because of this amendment, this point was not before COVID-19 pandemic. So this point is specifically inserted for this unusual circumstances which arises due to COVID-19 pandemic. Correct now. The amendment permit as a practical expedient not to assess whether the rent concession that occur as a direct consequences of COVID-19 pandemic and meet specific condition specified condition are lease modification. Correct now. One second, I read. One second. The amendment permit lessee as a practical expedient not to assess whether the rent concession that occur as a direct consequences of COVID-19 pandemic and meet specified conditions are lease modification. Means there is no need to assess rent concession in this given situation as lease modification, and instead to account for those rent concession as if they were not a lease modification. Means as if they were not a lease modification. Are you getting what I am saying? So whenever any rent concession is due to is because of direct consequences of COVID-19 pandemic, and if it meets specific condition, then that rent concession will not be considered as lease modification. Instead of that, it can be accounted, means rent concession can be accounted as if they were not a lease modification. Correct? The amendment does not affect lesser, means this amendment will not affect lesser accounting. Lesser required to continue to assess if the rent concession are lease modification and are account for them accordingly. Means lesser need to reassess whether rent concession are lease modification or not, and if it is a lease modification, then they need to be accounted it for separately. Yes sir. What are the conditions to be compiled? First point, is the rent concession a direct consequences of COVID-19 pandemic? If the answer is yes, then you need to fulfill 4 other specific conditions. First, is the revised consideration for the lease substantially the same or less than consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change? Means the revised consideration for the lease should be substantially same or less than the consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change. Correct now. Means either it should be equal to or less than the consideration for the lease which was before the change. Does the rent concession affect only lease payment originally due on or before 30th June 2021? Means this rent concession only affect the lease payment which was due on or before 30th June 2021. Means if it will affect any rent lease payment after 30th June 2021, then this amendment is not applicable. Yes sir. No substantive change to the other terms and condition of the lease. So there is no substantive change to the other terms and condition, means lease term will not be extended, etc, etc. So only rent concession has been given. Now what is substantive? That is not defined. What is substantive? That is not. And if this 3 condition is satisfied, then practical expedient is available, means then rent concession will not be accounted as lease modification. Rent concession will not be accounted as lease modification. There are many questions has been given. You need to read by your own, but I will read some of them. Correct. Read all the examples by your own, but I will read some of them so that you can understand what actually I want to say. come to question number 55. Lessee P operate a chain of restaurant and lease several outlets. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic, P agreed rent deferral with the lessor. So there is a rent deferment. Under terms of rent deferral, rent originally due in the period July 20 to December 20 will be added to the rent due in the period July 21 to December 21. Whether rent deferral is eligible for practical expedient if the other conditions are met. Correct? Let us see what they have given. The rent deferral satisfies the criteria to apply practical expedient because, can you say this is a rent concession occurring as a direct consequence of the pandemic? Yes. Can you say recovery of rental during July 21 to December 21, recovery of rental, correct now, during July 21 to December 21 is substantially the same or less than the consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change. Correct now, means this point, the point what we have done, what they say is the revised consideration, means whatever revised consideration is substantially the same or less than the consideration for the lease immediately preceding the change. So this point is also satisfied. Yes sir. Rent deferral reduce the lease payment originally due on or before 30th June 2021, means rent concession was up to December 2020. So this condition also satisfied, and there is no substantive change in the other terms and conditions. Therefore, practical expedient is available, and P conclude that rent deferral meet the payment due eligibility criteria. Rent deferral meet the payment due eligibility criteria, means this is not lease modification. We can do the reassessment of liability, and we can remeasure the lease liability as per the remeasurement. Are you able to understand? So there is no lease modification in this case. Correct? Yes sir. Correct. Then question number 56. Reduction in rent payment means lessee T lease office building from a lessor. As a result of COVID-19 pandemic in September 2020, T agreed rent concession with the lessor, under which the monthly rent will be reduced by 50% per month for a 12-month commencing 1st October 2020. So can I say in this case it will exceed beyond 30th June 2021? Correct now what they have given. The rent deferral does not satisfy the criteria to apply practical expedient because out of the listed eligibility criteria given in 46B, means para 46B of Ind AS 116, rent deferral reduced lease payment starting from October 2020, and reduction will continue till September 2021, which is beyond June 2021. Therefore not permitted to apply practical expedient, and this will be considered as modification only. This will be considered as modification. Understood? Yes sir. The next point, unless a lessee is granted a rent concession by the lessor whereby the lease payment for a period April 20 to June 20 are deferred, 3 months are added to the end of lease term at the same monthly rent, and the lessee repay the deferred rent during the additional month. The rent concession is a direct consequence of COVID-19. So what they say? The lessee consider applying the practical expedient in considering whether this rent concession is eligible. For the practical expedient, the lessee note the following. Firstly, the revised consideration in lease is substantially the same. So revised consideration is substantially the same or less than, can I say, original consideration? So first condition satisfied? Yes sir. Second condition, the rent consider only reduce the lease payment originally due on or before 30th June 2021. The second condition also satisfied. Doubt will be for third condition. What they say? There is a change in the lease term, an extension by 3 months. Now the question is that whether this extension by 3 months for the lease term, whether it will be a substantive change or it is not a substantive change. Correct? Now you're getting. So there is no explicit guidance on what is considered as substantive. Correct? What is substantive? Judgment will need to be applied. So for this, if this is 3 months, it can be considered as there is no substantive change in the terms of the condition. Therefore, practical expedient will be available. Means I have just gone through 3 questions. Other question you can do it by your own. You need just only identify practical expedient is available or not based on the amendment given in the Ind AS 116. I hope you have understood the entire chapter. Entire chapter is completed. Now balance question you can do it. I hope most of the question I have covered it. Okay, correct. For today this much only. Thank you very much. We'll meet tomorrow. Till then, bye bye. Take care. Enjoy your remaining day.